Okay, so Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night for everyone who watching this podcast. Welcome back to Yang Utama Podcast, Suara Kita, Suara Hati. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here I am Maula Hidayatul Atkia as your host for tonight. I would like to introduce to you our speaker for tonight. Please welcome Mr. Evangelos. Angelos Evandras.
Offenders.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's kind of hard for Indonesian, and yeah, I was not that remember your name so much. So yeah, okay. So well, ladies and gentlemen, Prof Evangelos is our international Peneleh ambassador from Greece, and he is the expert in international sustainability education, consulting, and training. So, hello, Professor.
Hello, good evening
Good
to our
evening.
audience and to the people present here.
Yeah. How are you?
A bit tired from the long trip from Athens to Surabaya.
So how long is your trip is?
2 days
Two
by
days.
plane and 1 day at
Mm-hmm.
Changi Airport
Mm-hmm.
in Singapore.
Mm-hmm. So do you have any jet lag for that long trip?
A bit.
A little bit,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, Professor, how was your first day at Indonesia?
Lovely.
Lovely. So, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Evangelos have been here since 2018, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
And here is
2019 also,
2019, and also here it's your third year, right?
my third time. Yeah.
Yeah, your third time. Sorry, he is already come to Indonesia for third times. So, ladies and gentlemen, here in 30 minutes, we are going to talk about the land, legacy, and loss, unraveling the Palestine and Israel crisis with Professor Evangelos in 30 minutes. So, please watch and learn. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, first I would like to introduce you that Professor Evangelos is already taught everything for almost 15 countries. Is it right?
I have lived in 15 countries
Mm-hmm.
and I lived there because I was teaching at some university or
Mm-hmm.
other. I have taught in 19 universities
Mm-hmm.
in those 15 countries.
Which university did give a best experience to you?
Well, the the university that I finished my BA,
Mm-hmm.
MA, and PhD
Mm-hmm. Where is it?
in the US.
In the U.S. Which
Yes,
part
the
of
Johns
U.S.?
Hopkins
John
University,
Hopkins. Mm-hmm.
which is among the best universities in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was an amazing university
Okay,
that
so mm-hmm.
really helped me through my studies.
Mm-hmm. Okay. When you are teaching in Asian and Pacific, do you have any kind of specific differences while you're teaching there?
Specific what?
Specific impression maybe, specific difference, specific distinguish.
Hmm. This is a very complicated question and it
Mm-hmm.
will take
Mm-hmm.
a few hours, if
Okay.
not a few months to
Okay.
answer.
Okay. Okay.
But no,
Okay.
each university has presented me with a specific situation,
Mm-hmm.
both cultural differences,
Mm-hmm.
which are also expressed in managerial
Mm-hmm.
and organizational
Okay.
differences. And they are the most important and most difficult to resolve. Very often I myself think,
Mm-hmm.
why have I changed so many universities?
Ah, okay.
And usually the answer is because there was a problem which I was not willing to accept.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Professor. And we are going back to our main topic actually because it is kind of out of topic actually. And yeah, what I am gonna ask for is tonight we are going to talk about the most heartbreaking news from Palestine where the genocide happens, but people just blind their eyes and keep their mouth shut. And yeah, what do you think is the background about the Palestinian and Israel? What is happening to them? What is the background? What is the root causes of them? What do you think about it, Professor?
Well, the story of Palestine and of the Jews, not necessarily the Israelis, goes back thousands of years. And the beginning, you already have the conflict between Judaism and the Philistines. The Philistines are in the Old Testament, mention the conflict with the, the Judeans. But, and it's not only in recent times that the problems of the Jews themselves started, but I think that for, again, historical and other reasons, the Jews were dispersed throughout many, mostly European nations.
I heard about it. Since, let me share to you a little bit
Yeah.
about my friend that's from Jews also. I I have a chance to go to US in 2022 for learning religious diversity. And I have a friend that have Jews, and I heard about Jews that already spirited for a few years ago in European. Yeah, and I fully agree with your statement.
Yeah. You have, for instance, in Greece, in my mother's hometown, the same island where my father is from, Kampong, up in the mountains,
Okay.
there was a very big Jewish community, and there is even a statue of a Jewish officer of the Greek army that fought against the Italians and the Germans when they invaded Greece during the Second World War. Okay, so the Jewish, the Hebrews were there for many centuries. But to come back to your question, I think the pivotal point was during the Second World War by the Nazis and Hitler, and that was the Holocaust. The Holocaust is a Greek word. Holo means everything, all, and cost is from kafsis, to burn everybody. This is my sort of interpretation of the word. So Hitler, the Nazis, did a massive attack. They collected the Jews and sent them to different places where they killed them and burned them.
Yeah.
No one with the right mind and the right soul would accept this. And it was a tragic thing that happened.
It is.
Okay. But this is not a justification for the survivors and their descendants to do now the same to the
To the
Palestinians.
Palestinians. It is because we could um, do bad things as a result from bad things too. And yeah.
You see, when you suffer such a thing, and then a few decades later, you turn around and you do it
To
yourself
another.
to somebody else, it means you haven't learned the lesson.
Yeah, we are the same as the feeling before.
Exactly. You you have learned the wrong lesson.
It is.
You become the murderer
Mm-hmm.
after your people were murdered.
That's pretty sad, actually. Yeah.
So the way I always put this is the Nazis did the Holocaust,
Mm-hmm.
and the British imperialists,
Mm-hmm.
not only the British, but mainly the British,
Mm-hmm.
sent the bill to the Palestinians because they are the ones,
Mm.
damn them,
Yeah.
who decided to take away the land of the Palestinians and give to those people who could live anywhere in Europe because they were from Europe, they were from America. New York had what, 10 million Jews or something. So why give them Palestine?
Why did Palestine take from it land?
They paid the bill and they were not guilty.
They were not.
And somebody else decided this because they were imperialists. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry actually. Okay, so do you think it's from others' decision to take the land from the Palestine?
Exactly.
It is.
And the other imperial powers
Mm-hmm.
cooperated, especially now the US,
It is.
sending them weapons to kill children and women, for God's sakes. And they pretend to be good Christians.
They are pretending as the victims.
Well, the Americans don't say they are the victims. They
Yeah.
are not that stupid.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so it is really heartbreaking that we saw every day about the news that thousand childrens and women's are killed just because someone's decided the land for their own and for their own goodness. And yeah, and what do you think is the ongoing impact on other countries if this problem is not resolved?
They have made the problem extremely difficult to solve. That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And already,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the people in Europe and America are divided.
Mm.
And I would say those who are ignorant
Mm-hmm.
support Israel.
Yeah, it is.
Those who have a mind and a heart
Mm-hmm.
support the Palestinians.
Mm.
So the conflict now has developed in practically every country because the local people are disagreeing with each other about this fundamental issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should not isolate the problem of Palestine from the problem of Ukraine
Yeah.
because I define the Mediterranean as
Mm-hmm.
including the Black Sea
Okay.
because it is one sea. And though it goes through the Straits of Bosphorus,
Mm-hmm.
all the way to the north of Turkey,
North of
to
Turkey.
Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria, Russia, and countries of the Caucasus,
Mm-hmm.
it is part of the Mediterranean.
Okay.
So you have in the Mediterranean Sea
Mm-hmm.
two wars at the same time.
Yeah, it's.
And in both, the Europeans and the Westerners are involved. And in both, they are involved as the aggressors.
I see, I see, I got it. So it is really shown that people who are not supported or even not, how to say, um, people who tend or stand in, how to say, normal, I mean, not pro to Israel, not pro to Palestine, also pro to Israel, I think. Because if you are not supported Palestine and not also supported Israel, it is also mean that you are blind of truth. You are
Blind,
blind of
blind,
reality.
deaf,
Deaf,
and no brain.
no brain, of course. Yeah, and yeah, what is actually the impact on other country that are not supporting Palestine, in your opinion? Because I think I have information that several weeks ago, Palestine is already um, being part of PBB, the United Nations. Um, yeah, what do you think about it?
It's good that United Nations,
Mm-hmm.
just like the International Court of Justice,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
has
yeah,
condemned
yeah,
Israel.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this was the initiative of South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
which itself had suffered from colonialism and was a nation that practiced, and it was the first case that was defined as apartheid. Okay, in other words, to have two people in one nation and one is oppressed and the others are the rulers. And South Africa did the right thing because it has experienced these terrible things
Yeah, of course.
and took the initiative to support the Palestinians.
They already feel it first. That's why they support Palestinian.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think we should go to the next question, Professor. The next question is, how do you think we could achieve the peace? Okay,
That's the difficult question.
actually, but it is the question that we all, especially student, need to know from you as our professor.
Really, I think that activists
Mm-hmm.
and people who believe in justice
Mm-hmm.
should be very, should become powerful and really demonstrate and boycott uh, and do all the kinds of things that we who don't have power,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not saying this as a negative thing, but the Jewish people from the medieval times and before were very successful, active and successful in money matters, in business. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So they come to control very important big businesses, industries, and so on,
Yeah.
who in turn support them financially
Mm-hmm.
and politically. How can we counter that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we know that a business is
Mm-hmm.
behind Israeli
Mm-hmm.
interests and
Mm-hmm.
supports Israel in the killing of the Palestinians, we boycott their products.
So, do you think boycotting is that important for this
Very
time?
important.
Yeah.
There is also a Hebrew
Mm-hmm.
non-Zionist
Mm-hmm.
organization, BDS,
Mm-hmm.
Boycott and Divestment, okay, which has for many decades been active, and I support them, have supported them, who boycott and divest pro-Zionist businesses.
And yeah, I have some friends that still thinks that boycott isn't that matter. So please give them advices to make them to support them to do this boycott and conduct.
Yeah. Well, there are many technical ways of finding out if a business has Israeli
Mm-hmm.
ownership or
Mm-hmm.
interests.
Mm-hmm.
So stop using their products, and like one of the fast food
Mm-hmm.
international
Yeah,
businesses,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
they have a shop right in the middle of Athens. Greek students and activists went there and circled, that shop.
Mm-hmm.
And the government, which is pro-Israeli,
Mm-hmm.
sent the police in and they beat them up and they took them to jail and so on. So more people have to support those activists.
Mm-hmm.
And my government has even sent warships to the Red Sea. to fight the Houthis who support the Palestinians.
Yeah,
It's disgusting.
it is actually.
So there are many, many fronts to fight on. On the political side, fight against local businesses, local politicians who are blind to the genocide. They don't give a damn if, what is it now, 40,000
Yeah,
Palestinians,
yeah, I think that.
almost 20,000 children. For God's sakes, 20,000 children. You have witnesses who describe Israeli soldiers, the sharpshooters, aiming from the far on the head of children. Is this defense? It's a crime against humanity, as bad a crime as the Holocaust. Not on the same scale yet.
But it is genocide.
It's exactly the same crime.
People just let it,
Just let it happen,
yeah,
unroll,
and that was such sad things that people nowadays don't have that kind of humanity to, how to say, to stand and say it louder that there is something that you can watch it by yourself, which is not um, which is not good, which is not true. It is something wrong, and people, how could people put just silent?
Just sit and watch the TV,
It is,
not
yeah.
care about it.
yeah, actually.
I just remembered a personal experience, which is extremely important. It was extremely important for me. And I think you can get something out of it. It's something that happened back in 1969,
1969. Okay.
long before even your parents were born.
Yeah, it is.
1968, I finished my doctorate. At that time, 1967, we had a military dictatorship in Greece, which was organized by the USA. This damn, I won't use a bad word, Henry Kissinger, who just died. And I said, Henry, go to hell, because the devil is waiting to embrace you. He organized the coup d'etat of the Greek generals against the Greek people for geopolitical reasons.
For geopolitical reasons.
Okay? Now, because I refused to serve during the dictatorship in the Greek army, because when you finish your studies, you have to go and serve 2 years in the army. I refused to go. They ended my passport, and I was stuck. I was then in Munich, in Germany. And suddenly, without a passport, and there was no European Union at the time, I couldn't travel, even go out of. One night, I went with my 2 fellow students and friends to Austria to have makan, to eat a meal at an Arabic restaurant in Austria.
Makan malam.
Makan malam, yeah. And when we came back, my 2 friends got into Germany, but the German policeman at the border said, your passport has ended. So I said, what do you want me to do? I cannot go to Austria back. And if I cannot go back to Germany, where I'm renting a house with my 2 friends, I stayed in the border between 2 countries for the rest of my life. So in any way, they let me in. And one of my 2 friends was from Montreal, Canada, Quebec. And he said, why don't you go to Canada? I said, okay. And in the particular circumstances, I went to the Canadian office for immigration in Stuttgart. They embraced me immediately. The man who was in charge took out his wallet and lent me the money for the air ticket to Canada from Germany. Okay? Because I didn't want to tell my parents I had problems. My parents were in Greece. Okay? So I arrived in Canada on the 14th of January 1969. And I was walking around Montreal. I was at McGill University, a very good university also. And one day I ran into Lou Goldberg, who was a fellow student at the Johns Hopkins University. Do you know what his name is? What does it indicate as an ethnic group? Lou Goldberg. Eh? Jewish name. These names, Goldberg, etc., are Jewish. And he was Jewish. He was fantastic to me because we never were close friends. But when he saw me in Montreal, he said, "Hey, Evangelos, what are you doing here?" And the Americans called me Angelo. Angelo, what are you doing here? More stories on that. He gave me his apartment. He went to the supermarket and filled his fridge with food for me. You see how caring he was, because he was staying with a girlfriend at the time. So he got me a job. He called different colleagues and universities, described me in the best of terms. And I got a job in Quebec City with the International Center for Research on Bilingualism. And I was going to Montreal from Quebec quite often to get together with Lou, and we traveled a bit and so on. And at one point, he changed his name to a Hebrew name, Chaim Goldberg, and he said, "Angelo, I'm going to Israel." I said, "Why, Lou?" He says, "I want to try it." And he went to Israel. Many months later, he came back. I was still in Canada, and I went to Montreal to meet him, and we talked, and he said, "Angelo, I couldn't stand them, the Israelis. They are real fascists." Now, this from a Jewish person about many of the Israelis. Obviously, there were many Israelis who were not Zionists. They were humans. But it was so bad, he stayed in a kibbutz. You know the kibbutz, right? Like a type of farm and so on, community. And he came back to Canada, you know, completely disgusted and disappointed.
About the Israelis.
Yeah.
The
Now,
government.
this was 1969. In 1975, after I went to Hawaii with my postdoctoral fellowship, and then I went on the floating university, and finally in 1975, I went to Malaysia, Pulau Pinang, and I was teaching at University Science Malaysia. And one of the Penelec ambassadors is from there.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, one day I was at the university in the office with the secretaries. A phone rings. I was doing some business with my director. And the secretary, Chinese girl, comes over to me and says, doctor, there is a phone call for you from the United States. So I go over, she gives me the phone, and a lady, American lady, talks to me.
What she said?
And she says, I have a patient. She was a psychiatrist. And she said, I have a patient who has a big problem, psychiatric problem. And when I talk with him and do the therapy, he often mentions your name and you. And from what I understand, you are a very important person in his life. Can you please talk to him? Okay, this was like 5 years after we were together in Canada. So she gives me she passes the phone to him. She says, Angelo, how are you?
Okay, so who is this?
This is Lou Goldberg. Okay.
Okay.
And I said, Lou, how are you? You know, she says, Angelo, I'm running for president. I said, president of what? President of the United States, he says.
Oh my God.
So I understand that something is not right.
Okay.
And I said, well, Lou, good luck. I hope you win.
Okay.
And that was the last time I heard from Lou, 1975. So I don't even know if he's still alive. But you see how big for his heart, for his psychology, the problem was of going to Israel and running into the Zionist fascists, the ones who are doing the genocide right now.
I can't even imagine if your friend, Mr. Lou, is still alive right now. Yeah. So, yeah. So, as the last question, I would like to ask you that how activists, especially, or we, how we are going to, or must be react actually for this case. In this case, Palestinians genocide and something like that.
Good question, important question. And I think that one of the things is your direct action. I mentioned before boycott and divestment, BDS. Okay. So you personally boycott products that are Israeli or pro-Israeli firms from Europe and other parts of the world. You communicate and inform about this problem as many people as you can reach. So tell people, discuss with people, analyze with people, so that people become aware of what is happening and what they can do. And the more people you reach, obviously, the more effective we are protecting the poor Palestinians. And the other is politically, make sure that your politicians are active in support of, in opposition to the genocide and support of the victims. These are my immediate answers to you.
So, uh,
And sign
mhm,
very often. I get 2-3 times a day. I get, through the internet, Facebook, et cetera, I get some request to sign a petition
a petition
Okay.
for
against the genocide.
ICE.
And one thing that really hurts me and is a problem, very often I get requests to contribute money for some action against the genocide. Unfortunately, my financial situation is very bad. I'm 81 and the damn Greek government doesn't give me a pension. I will receive a pension when I'm 86. Most people get a pension when they are 68. So it's the same numbers, but the opposite. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
They hope that I won't live long, but I want to live 125 years.
Okay. I just could say amin for that.
Thank you.
And yeah. Okay, so Professor, that was my last question of this session. And would you please give us a conclusion about our podcast today?
Yes. Well, the first thing is we all need to do as much as possible to save as many Palestinian lives, especially the children and the young ones, as possible. Very much of this is in our hands and in our mouth and in our brain. Do whatever you think you can do directly
Mhm,
to help.
mhm,
I'm not against the Jewish people, but I'm against the Zionists. Like, you couldn't be against the Germans because they were Germans who were Nazis. Okay.
mhm,
And we have to fight. It's worth our time and our effort to help support the Palestinian people because it's their land which is being stolen from them and they are made to live. The same thing, you know. Why? So, and also think and decide what do you think is the political solution for Palestine? Are you for a two-state solution or a one-state solution or a zero-state solution, which is what the Zionists want? Zero for the Palestinians. All of it, 100% for them. You see what I mean?
yeah.
So they push them to go out, go to Egypt, go to Jordan, go to whatever.
Otherwise, they will genocide them. They will kill them. And something.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Professor, for tonight and for every inch of how to say insightful session with you. And well, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to inform you that if you want to how to say react on this thing, if you want to help these issues, please do the boycott. And if you are also want to do the exact same thing, please, we and activist paneleh will welcome you. Let's make a change for the future. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching our podcast. Me, Maula Hidatul Atkia, as the host for today, and Professor Evangelos will say thank you very much for every attention, and we are sorry for any mistakes that we have. So, the last word that I want to say is please just do what you can do to impact on a good things. Well,
Everything you can do.
everything you can do. So, thank you for watching Yang Utama Podcast. Please share, subscribe, comments, and likes. And thank you very much for watching. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. I hope you liked it. I hope I gave you some ideas. Shukran.